Hi, I'm Brad Sugars and welcome to the Business Basics. In looking at buying, building and selling companies, the buying is very important. We've covered that one. There's a bunch of videos here on the build, and now we've got to look at the sell. How do we actually sell a business and make sure that we reap the rewards of doing that extra work of building a company? Well, there's four main strategies that you'll come across to when you're selling a business. The 4 F's, I call them. You can flog a business, which is essentially the quick sell. You can finish a business, which is to get it to a point where it runs without you and then go for maximum value. You can float the business, take it to an initial public offering and sell shares on the public stock market. Or you can franchise the business, go out there and build the business through franchising where people buy parts of the business in their area of the world. Now, looking at all 4 areas of selling a business, there are some fundamental facts that need to remain the same, but each of the strategies, again, has different areas within it. So let's take a look at franchising. It's the 4th way of selling a business. And where franchising, you don't actually sell the whole business, you sell parts of the business or territories of the business all over the world or all over the country you're doing business in. Franchising, the old saying, is very simple. You're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. You know, what we're doing with franchising is we're actually selling a small part of the company or the license for someone to run a small part of the company in their territory for a period of time. What is franchising? Well, to me, most people misunderstand franchising. See, it's the 80-20 rule, but around the other way. People seem to think franchising is 80% about the systems and 20% about the people. No. Franchising, the systems is 20%. The people, that's 80% of the business. 80% of franchising business is about relationships with people. And it's why a lot of franchises fail dismally because they can't hold relationships. You know, I know for me at Action Coach, I'm actually in the business of franchising. I'm not in the business of business coaching. I'm in the business of franchising. And what is franchising? The business of helping other people run their own business. You know, so it's kind of coaching, but it's not really. Now, if you go into franchising, what you're trying to do is bring people who have both capital and skill to join you in the business. So they have capital. They bring in their capital and buy their share of the business. They bring their skill to run the business that you have. You get a major benefit because you don't need to put up the capital to open every new store or every new office for your business. You get a major win because you get someone that runs that office who has in most cases, because you've done good recruiting, great skill set, but also they're an owner of the business in that area. So therefore, their desire to run the business is extremely high. Very important. If you do this, if you do franchising right, it allows you to expand at a much faster pace than you would if you were going it alone, purely because you're bringing both capital and talent at the same time to the table. What are the main areas of franchising you've got to get right? Well, if you want to develop a franchise and get it right, you've got to get a bunch of things possible. Firstly, the business model. What is the business? You know, how does it work? For me, it's business coaching that I franchise, and to get that model right so they actually make profit, the owner of the franchise can make a profit for themselves, is of vital importance, of course. Most franchises fall over at that point because the first 4 or 5 get sold on faith, and then they realise they're not making any money. You know, I know for us, with over 1,000 franchises around the world, how much that proof is in the pudding, that, you know, if you're actually getting results and your franchisees are getting results, then ultimately you get such a great a business model that makes profit. And once you've passed that 30 to 100, that's still guinea pig stage for most franchises. Once you pass that, you know you're getting good results. The franchise structure is what you have to work out next. Will you run on an area-based franchise? Will you run on a master franchise model? Will you run on a joint franchise model? Will you have area developers that then franchise direct? There are so many different franchise models that you really need to sit down with a franchise lawyer or get in touch with your local franchise association and actually learn about the different models. You could read my book, Successful Franchising, as well to get more of an opinion on it. One of the great things about franchising is that it has multiple streams of income. You've got to sit down and work out what are those multiple streams and how do they work and how do we actually run our business based upon them. Then you've got to look at the training and support. Now, This one area here is why my franchise does so well, whereas a lot of others struggle. The amount of training support that you put into your new franchisees. Remember, a lot of them are going to be first-time business owners. You've actually got to teach them how to actually be a business owner, not just how to run your business. So that training and that support you give has to be second to none. It has to be of vital importance. I know within our franchise, we get told this all the time by franchise brokers, by our coaches who've bought franchises, who are looking at other franchises, who say, listen, the support you guys give is phenomenal, the level of support. And I want you to think about it. If you want to have a successful long-term franchise, your support levels need to be at that as well. The franchise marketing, how to actually market the franchise to generate leads. Now, generating leads for a franchise is something you have to test and measure again. You know, around the world today, the majority of franchise leads are online. Most of those leads coming from the internet, you know, and through many portals on the internet, but still, most leads coming from the internet. Ultimately, once you've got the sales system down, because the marketing system's one thing, but you've got to have the sales system down as well. How do you actually sell this franchise? Now, franchise sales is one thing. The sale of, you know, you've got to look at it. Franchise sales, there's 5 things you have to sell. Firstly, what you've got to sell is the concept of being in business for yourself. If someone's going to buy a franchise, they've got to believe in being in their own business. Second concept you have to sell is that people actually want to own a franchise. Third concept you actually have to sell is the industry that they're buying into. Fourth is you within that industry. And fifth, the actual finances of the deal that they're doing with you. So these sales parts have to be taken into account time and time again. And then finally, you've got to look at the legals. You know, the franchise legals, very simply put, if you want to play in the franchise game, you have to abide by the rules. There are very big rules and regulations in franchising all over the world. There's not one part of the world that I've found where there isn't some form of licensing law or something that covers franchising. But very simply put, you've got to make sure the legals are done right at the beginning. Don't try and save money on the franchise legals. Invest in it, spend it, make sure you get the greatest legals you possibly can. You'll need them one day, you know. Listen, franchising is a great way to sell a business. When you can get capital and skill set coming to join the team in the one move, you know that you're on track. I'm Brad Sugars, and these are the Business Basics.